George, as we speak, Aston Villa are in 6th place. It's like we've just got into a DeLorean with Marty McFly and gone back to the year 2008. It is just, what is going on, George? What is going on?
Well, Frankie, I can tell you, as a matter of fact, the last time we were 6th at the same point in the season was 2010. So that's 13 years ago, the year David Cameron came into power, the Condemn Coalition. Remember that, Frankie?
Oh, yeah, in the Rose Garden.
In the Rose Garden, I'm with Nick. Remember that? Yeah. Well, I know it's incredible. 13 long years for us to be here in April. So yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, really. And yeah, I know Brighton and Liverpool, I think they've got 2 games in hand on us. So perhaps a bit of a false dawn, but we are the team in form. Brighton slipped up today. Liverpool are by no means in good form at the moment. We are the form team in the league. Well, bar Man City and Arsenal. But we're right up there. So if we can keep this going until May, it's there for us, Frankie, isn't it? The golden chalice of Europe. It's hovering.
It's there. It's just unbelievable. Consider where we were when Steven Gerrard masterminded our 3-0 loss to Fulham. Tactically, we were clueless. As a team, all of the players had lost confidence. I can't think of a single player other than Ashley Young who was actually playing quite well at the time. The players have been ostracised. Bertrand Traoré was over in Turkey, chilling out on a beach to get sightseeing around Istanbul. And now he's back in amongst the squad. Every single player gets an opportunity. Nobody is ostracised. Every game you go into, you just think, well, Villa, if they're not going to win it, they're going to give it a go. And they probably are going to win it. Like even today against Nottingham Forest, I compare it back to when we played, like Watford last season, right? And do you remember when that was under Steven Gerrard again, another masterminded 1-0 loss at home to Watford, who were bottom of the league, useless, jabronis, as the Rock would call them. And Aston Villa conspired to lose 1-0, right? And that is similar to me to Nottingham Forest, where Villa were not at their best. And were it under a previous regime, I think Villa wouldn't have been at their best. So they passed it around for ages, had loads of possession, and then conceded a stupid goal and lost 1-0 or drawn 1-1. And we'd all go home frustrated saying, why is this the way it is? Me and you would do a podcast on it, trying to be positive, trying to look for ways that things might go well. And in the end, actually, deep down, we're like, do you know what? We're just doomed to be a team that's always stuck in the race for 12th place and fighting relegation. And today, Villa just get the job done. Yes, Villa started slow. Forest were quite compact. I think defended relatively well in the first half. They were quite physical. They were not. I think they were lucky not to get a red card today. But ultimately, did the sunshine affect the Villa? 3 games in a row affect the Villa? A small squad having to play a lot of games. Ollie Watkins playing relentlessly for a long time. In the end, maybe that caught up with us a bit today. But Villa still got the job done. They worked out a way of winning. So, George, Tell me, how did Villa do it today? What was it? What made us so? What pulled out that win, do you reckon?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with all that, really, Frankie. Today was a very different type of challenge because, let's be honest, given our form and given the opposition, we were very much expected to beat Forest today. The sun was out, positivity was in the air, but we all know that can be a bit of a portent of doom at Aston Villa. If you go into a game expecting to win, there's a very real possibility you end up losing. That's just my experience of supporting Villa. I'm sure it's very similar to yours and everybody listening. So I did go into this game with believing, very much so, that we were going to win. But as the first half kind of got underway and developed, I thought, okay, we're struggling a bit here. Forest by no means looked that particularly threatening, but I don't think that was their game plan. They played 5 at the back. They changed things up. They nullified our threats. And obviously when the halftime whistle blew and it was 0-0, I was thinking, well, the professor's got another big halftime team talk to dish out, which he has done, to be fair, in previous games. We have struggled in the first half in certain games. The game against Wolves springs to mind immediately, struggling in the first half there. And we come out in the second half and yeah, I think what it is, Unai, he's a cool customer, isn't he? He doesn't panic. He doesn't worry if the fact it's 0-0 after 50 odd minutes.
Yeah.
We just keep sort of putting the pressure on and believing in our system, believing in our way, and hoping opportunities come our way that we can put in the back of the net. And for the second game in a row, Bertrand Traoré is assisted by the opposition. Incredible. I have no idea what John Joe Shelby was doing, but I'm glad he did it and fed the wicked left foot of Bertrand Traoré. I mean,
tricky Traoré. I just think of that Run DMC song every time. It's tricky.
He's tricky.
Every time he does something special, I'm like,
he's got just a lovely. I mean, that was probably the most routine goal he scored. Normally, they're from about 50 yards out or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was still a lovely little technique, kind of in off the post from close range. Lovely finish, and that's 2-2 for him. And obviously he came on quite early to replace Leon Bailey. And with the game against Newcastle coming up this next weekend, I would expect him to start probably given Bailey's injury concerns and probably lack of form. So to that, obviously his comeback, like Lazarus, isn't he? He's like Matthew McConaughey's acting career. He's come from nowhere, from the Middle East, from Turkey, and he's our number 9.
Villa's number 9, that famous number 9, the non-scoring number 9.
He's doing the business. Maybe it's the shirt number. Maybe it is the number on his back that's making him become this prolific player for us. So that is good to see. But it's like a typical Emery performance. I said this last week. You laughed at me, Frankie. Typical Emery performance.
Yeah,
doing what's needed to win. Not pretty, but churning out the 3 points.
Yeah.
So long may that continue. I mean, I really, really hope that some Villa fans don't get ahead of themselves and think, oh God, we need to be playing this way of football or that way of football. With Aston Villa, if we win games, it's a great thing. I don't get how you do it.
Got so used to not winning them. Yeah.
So exactly. So if we win that way, for the rest of the season and keep winning games that way,
I'll take it.
Absolutely, we'll take it.
I'll take it. So, and that thing is so Forest first half were they were compact. They were pretty decent defensively. I think Villa was slow to start. The forwards couldn't really get going at all. And McGinn and Louise basically had 2 number 10s sitting on them the whole game, man marking them. So we couldn't really do anything through the centre. But the smart thing was, outright in the second half, Ashley Young, Mr. Intelligent, high IQ, footballing IQ, has to be playing in a million different positions as he has throughout his career. Out wide, sends the ball to Tricky Traoré, lovely ball over the top, and it's out wide where obviously we would probably get more likely to create our opportunities. Both goals came from playing it down the right-hand side into Tricky. First one, turns around, and as you say, John Joe Shelby sets him up. And I love that now opposition midfielders just keep doing this against Villa.
It's great to see, isn't it?
Hands over the heads, can't believe what they've done. And then, I think Watkins actually had a tougher day. I think you could see maybe that he's played a lot recently. I think that Felipe had the better of him for most of the day. But this says a lot about his character. It says a lot about the form he's in. That right until the end, the last minute, he got the ball, and instead of just shooting and then hitting the defender and it rebounds out, we go, well, that's a waste of chance. He held on to it. He saw Jacob Ramsey, got the pass to him. And Ramsey, who, again, I think was a bit off it today, he got his assist. He passed it back to Watkins. And then Watkins, finally, he beats Felipe. It was like Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. It was all day long. Hulk Hogan's been beaten up by the big giant. And then eventually he hulks up and he picks up the giant over his shoulder and sends Felipe crashing to the ground as he takes the ball past him. And then he's got a defender, a goalkeeper, and Kaelin Navas, world-class goalkeeper, coming in on him. And you think 99.9% out of people in the world would just try and toe poke it under the keeper, and it would hit the keeper and come back out, and you're like, why didn't I take it? And instead, Watkins, the form he's in, makes it 9 goals in 11 games. Incredible when he lifts it over the keeper. He just, that serenity overcomes him, that calmness overcomes him, George. He's the opposite to me. I am a man who is full of just love and wants to write poetry about Unai Emery at all times of the day. Write poetry about you, George, at this moment in time. That's how happy I am. But Ollie Watkins kept his cool and then ripped his shirt off. And my goodness, George. My goodness. No wonder Marks and Spencer won in modelling. He looked great.
I didn't know he signed Michelangelo's David.
Yeah.
To be bagging in the goals.
Professor Unai's Ollie.
Yeah, exactly.
Sculpted.
the work of art, you know,
Absolute work of art. Bloody hell,
incredible,
Ollie.
incredible.
Where's that
Yeah,
been hiding for the
yeah,
last 3 years?
yeah. Well, it's
Wow.
just what a time to be a Villa fan. And I know
Incredible.
it's only a portion of the season. It's the second half of the season. I rue every single week we kept Steven Gerrard in his place, really, because it sort of basically stopped us from being up in the top four somewhere where Newcastle are at the moment, probably, if we didn't bring him in sooner.
If only the players had given him a little bit more magic, as he kept saying. Just need that
Yeah,
little bit
just
more
a
magic.
little bit
A little
more
bit of
magic. I know it could have been a different story, but
Chelsea
yeah,
should be battering us.
it's just it's great. And you look at the fixtures coming up. Newcastle, we play next. We've got games against the likes of Brentford and Fulham, Liverpool, all teams around us. And in many ways, it's not in our hands, obviously, but it sort of is. If we beat those teams, then it puts us in a really, really strong position. So yeah, I'm just really, yeah, it's just what a time to be. I could cry.
Your cat's just appeared on your screen. Even your cat wants to get involved. Just
well, yeah, it's weird. As soon as I mentioned Ollie Watkins, she wants to join in the conversation. It's just, I'm gonna change her name.
Yeah.
To Ollie.
Yeah, I mean, something else I want to mention as well is corners today, right? Forest had 8 corners, right? And I think earlier this season, do you remember when Villa just could not defend corners?
Yeah, useless. Yeah,
every set piece would be in looking like we were in terror, looking around, thinking like, what's going on here? What, as if like there's an earthquake happening in the area. Everyone's in panic mode. As if a streaker's running the box. We're all like, who's that? What's this naked bloke running around? But instead, today, Villa just looked like they were never going to cause a problem.
Yeah,
headed away. I mean, that's just another example where Villa have managed to improve and become more confident and more consistent. And I think there were some signs today that maybe there was a little bit of tiredness to set in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Professor Unai would probably say his criticism would be, I think we need to kill off teams like this quicker. It reminded me a little bit of Crystal Palace, where I think we were far better than Palace at home when we won 1-0. And we were far better than Forest for most of this game today. But I think we still, being at 1-0, we just didn't quite get that killer goal quick enough. A couple of players were too off it. So that might come down to the squad size, which hopefully will be rectified this summer.
Yeah.
I do think as the season progresses, there's still a few games, 8 games to go. I think Newcastle at home, a massive acid test. Alexander Isak is keeping me up at night. I don't think I'm going to sleep for the next week. But,
huge game that, isn't it, really?
It is a huge game. You're right. I think the 2 teams outside City and Arsenal who nobody else wants to play right now are Villa and Newcastle. And the fact they're playing each other, my goodness, it's like the immovable object against the
Alexander Isak.
Alexander Isak, yeah. So the poster would be Mings and Isak eyeing each other up, wouldn't it?
yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. I'd pay per view. I'd pay for that. So yeah, it's but a few tougher games. I do think maybe that might slightly catch up with us a bit as towards the end of the season. But my goodness, what an absolutely incredible job! And I think that I would have thought getting into the top half was enough. That's all we needed. Top 10, and it's still enough in the sense of where we were when Emery took over, and the fact we haven't been in the top half for a million years. But the fact now that top half looks like almost a dead cert now.
Yeah.
Europe now looks like something we can absolutely do. Tottenham look like a team we could potentially even catch. Prince William was there today. I really think he had to walk down to that dressing room and knight Professor Unai right there and then. And maybe he did.
Maybe the king, El Rey.
El Rey.
Exactly. There was only one king in Villa Park, and he was in the dugout. So, it was great. It was really, really good. And I keep saying, Emery has. There's been no manager who's had the same impact since Martin O'Neill, and it was O'Neill who was in charge in 2010. The last time we were literally in this position at the same point of the season. So it's been a really long time coming. We've been a very long suffering fan base, we've got a really, really exciting end of the season now. And as I said last week's show, Frankie, I think we got to review the season now in chunks, right? So obviously one of the targets a few weeks ago was getting into the top 10, trying to finish in the top half of the table. We've sort of surpassed that now a little bit. The teams below us are losing games. Fulham are sinking like a stone. So that top 10 ambition, that target is kind of what, as you say, kind of feels like more or less achieved, fingers crossed. So now we've got to be looking up and thinking, you know what, we're a team in form. We've got good quality players, a good quality coach. Why not? Aim a little higher and just see what happens?
Yeah.
We play the teams around us, and if we beat those teams, we're in Europe basically. So that's a huge carrot for us now. So let's go and do it.
And also, let me just say to you, do you remember when I think we've always rated Watkins? Obviously, we've always rated.
I think what we criticised him for has been his finishing, like a lot of Villa fans.
Yeah, consistency.
And I think Ings suppressed that. Probably the cluelessness of Steven Gerrard suppressed that. But yeah, the selling Ings and bringing Emery in has just given him this new lease of life, and he's back to the player he was 2-3 seasons ago. So
it's incredible.
Well worthy of a new contract as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and I'm sure your cat agrees. Who will currently just not leave you alone.
Ollie Watkins. I'm telling you, every time you mention him, he
just has to come back and just to share the love. But yeah, because that's the thing. Like I remember, I said to when I interviewed Andrew Mangan, who runs Arseblog, one of the main Arsenal the main Arsenal fan group, not Arsenal Fan TV, not them. Arseblog, an actual decent product. And I said to him that I thought at the time, this was about a year and a half ago, that I thought Ollie Watkins was a player who would improve somebody like Arsenal, right? And then I started to, you start to question yourself. Then you see how he kind of fell off form a bit, started becoming just inconsistent. His first touch wasn't always there. His finishing wasn't always right. And now you look at it and you think, well, in hindsight, you see his form now and you're like, actually, no, I was right. Because he is that level of a player. He is a player who should be regularly playing for England and in playing in Europe, for instance, for a high level team. And Aston Villa hopefully are becoming that high level team with him leading us with his new contract talks as well. But it just shows, doesn't it? Like how under Gerrard, how he lost his way with poor coaching. He lost his way because the club itself sent him a weird message by signing Danny Ings. Mm-hmm. Now Ings is gone. Gerrard's gone. Now it's a new lease of life. And Unai Emery has clearly said to him right from the beginning, "You're my man." And to be honest, it didn't immediately start on fire for Emery. I remember against Liverpool, he missed quite a few chances. He was a bit off it, but probably since the Tottenham game away, 1-2-0, first day of the year, I think. He's just been incredible, and it's heartwarming to see him get back to the form that I think we all knew he had. And I think the Watkins going forward should say, I can score 20 goals a season in the Premier League, and that has to be his target for next year for sure. John McGinn, Tyrone Mings, Ezri Konsa, Ollie Watkins, all of them, they're becoming consistent. They're all back at it. And you have to say it says a lot about their character. It says a lot about what they are, but it also says a lot about Professor Unai Emery. And by God, Prince William, if you're listening to this and you haven't knighted him yet, what are you up to, mate? Get on it. George and I could be about to shout, swear, fall out in a way that makes Arsenal Fan TV proud in this, the spicy question. And today, George, I ask you, could Europe potentially actually be a hindrance for Villa next season if we end up having to play on those Thursday nights?
No.
That sells it then. That sells it, doesn't it?
Just absolutely not. I refuse to believe. I just refuse to believe it. I mean, I know people might look at West Ham now and think, okay, they're in the Europa Conference League and their league form hasn't been great at all, really. Got their win today, but I don't know. I think you know what? At times like this, when we're so close to Europe, it's been so long since we've been in Europe. I've almost forgotten the last time we were there. But I do remember being in Europe, and I do remember even at the time, what was it, 15 years ago, feeling frustrated at Martin O'Neill's decision to play a second string team or play youth players.
In
I
Moscow.
thought, in Moscow, in
Yeah.
Hamburg rings a bell.
Yeah.
Basically playing the youth team against Hamburg. I just think like you're doing the traveling fans, you're doing all fans really a huge disservice by treating it with such disdain. That's the goal for a club like us. We always bang on. I do love that we won a European Cup, but we always talk about the fact we won a European Cup and we're desperate to get back into Europe. And I know for a fact that Unai Emery, giving his track record in Europe, would give it a huge go.
Yes.
And
I think we'd be dark horses under him.
I mean, potentially. Who knows? Who knows? But to say, I mean, okay, yeah, we might have an impact on the league. We might end up struggling a little bit like West Ham. But ultimately, if we had a huge run in Europe, I think most fans would accept like a mid-table finish or a 12th place. I mean, we've been finishing 12th or 13th without Europe for the past three seasons. Yeah. So if we had to go through that again, but also have a good run in Europe, then I'd bite your hand off, Frankie, for that. Oh. So like,
I'd bite my own hand off. I already have. Look how excited I am about Professor Unai.
It's gone, but I think we have to go for it. I mean, this has been such an anomalous season. We've had the World Cup in winter. Has that had an impact on how Liverpool and Chelsea have performed this season? Maybe, I don't know, but it has been an anomalous season. Newcastle doing so well, and teams like Brighton and Brentford being up there. No one would have predicted that. And now we're coming in strong at the end of the season. We've got a real chance of making it into the top 6, top 7. And we have to just go for it, regardless of any concerns we might have about playing in Europe next season, whether we'll be fatigued or whatever. We do know that we need to strengthen in the summer. Oh, yeah. Regardless, we do have a thin squad. I mean, I don't know if you saw the squad list between Villa and Forest today. The back of the squad list. Like, it fills half the page for us. Forest was like, the full page and then some.
Half the Trinity Road stand with the Forest one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go that far. I don't want to be, like Forest signing 15 players in the summer, because I think that would unsettle us really. But signing a number of quality players, improving what we've got, keeping players we've got with Ollie Watkins' new contract potentially, keeping our best players at the club. Europe, we gotta be targeting Europe. We have to be targeting Europe. It's a huge thing. And even if we don't go that far in it, just to have the experience of playing in those games, Villa fans going abroad and those, they're like special memories, aren't they, for fans of clubs? And it's been so long since we've had that. I mean, you look at how Rangers did last season, you look at how West Ham did last season.
Yep.
Some brilliant experiences for their fans, and you watch it on TV and you think, God, I want that. I want to be.
And why couldn't Villa do what Rangers and West Ham do?
Of course, absolutely. Why not? Indeed, and as you say, Frankie, we've got, look at our squad now and our coaching staff. Dark horses. We there's no reason why we can't go as far as them either. So we've got to give it a go. It won't. I refuse to, as I say, believe it'll be a hindrance. Mm-hmm. So we just got to go for it. If we get there, I just hope we do.
I 1,000,000% agree with you, George. One day I will find a spicy question where we do actually have a massive fallout, and it ends up being like a Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield style brawl, biting your ear off and all that stuff. But
I walk off like Preston and
never mind the Buzzcocks.
Never mind the Buzzcocks. I think our younger listeners probably wouldn't get the reference. But
I pull out your
my biography.
I mean, look, Professor Unai Emery is not. I love that I just automatically call him Professor Unai Emery.
He's the professor.
It's like with Dean Smith. I just automatically call him Sir Dean.
Yeah.
There was one time I called him Dean, and then I corrected myself and went Sir Dean, and I realized I didn't do it as a joke. I did it genuinely. I was like, sorry, Sir Dean, and I was like, oh my god, I called him Sir. But yeah, Professor Unai. He's not going to be at Villa forever. He ain't. We have right now a proven winning manager in Europe, a manager who's won the Europa League 4 times. We have got to do it now. It's no good saying it or every single year, next year is the year, next season's the year, because it ain't always that way.
Yeah.
And if we can make Europe this year, it's going to be really tough. We've left it late in the season to do it, and there's still tough games ahead. But if we can do it, even just the Europa Conference League, let alone the Europa League.
Yeah.
If Villa are in the Conference League, Villa fans would love it. Be amazing. Like, because we've been away for so long. Even just being in that, going away to Moldova and Sweden and wherever, it's just a fantastic experience. And to get that taste of Europe again and be like, we're a team who belong on the continent. We're the type of people who belong drinking red wine, not just sitting around drinking beer all the time. So look, it'd just be it'd be a fantastic experience. And the Europa Conference League is a trophy that I think Villa could look at and say, do you know what, we could even win that. We could look at the Europa League and say West Ham and Rangers got to finals and semi-finals. Why can't Villa do the same with a manager who's won it 4 times? Why not? Would it be a hindrance to us in the Premier League? I'm not saying it wouldn't be. I think I could imagine it being an experience for us. And what it certainly would mean is that we'd have to expand our squad. And this summer, who's to say that with Villa on the run they're on, with a manager who has appeal, who's to say we couldn't bring in a lot of players who might do the job for us? Alex Moreno is the only signing Unai Emery has made. Yon Duran was not an Emery signing. And Moreno has proven himself already to be a real asset to Villa for 14 million quid. Not a fashionable signing. And that is something that he's done throughout his career. Look at Dan Juma at Villarreal. What's he done since Emery left? What did he do before he was Emery? He was at Bournemouth before Emery at Villarreal. He excelled under Emery at Villarreal, and now he's on loan at Tottenham doing nothing. Has he played for Tottenham? I don't even know.
Yeah, he's played, but yes, I get your point.
And so you look at it and you think Villa could probably make a couple of signings that you don't necessarily expect. I'd really love it if we get Guendouzi or Nico Williams, but maybe it could be somebody you really don't expect for not that much money who ends up being excelling. And maybe it's one of our youth players that comes back. Maybe Jaden Philogene Badays just excels under Emery, or Irobenham comes back. Just Archer, Aaron Ramsey, somebody who you're really not expecting. So there's just so much to be excited about at Villa for the first time in such a long time. My God, George, I feel like I want to cry. I'm that emotional and happy about it, honestly. But go for Europe, go for it. Just do it. If we can get in, do it. We got to take that chance, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as you say, we have left it late, but there's still 8 games left.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of points to play for
Villa. Yeah,
for Villa. So a lot of points to play for. We are in form. I mean, my worry is because the squad is so light that if touch wood, if anything happens to Watkins or actually pretty much anyone in the first team squad, bar Bailey, funnily enough, who was obviously injured today, that would really set us back. If we can avoid injuries, then that's crucial. But if we do, and if we maintain the form, then yeah. I mean, you got to believe, and would you like to bet against us, Frankie? That's the real question.
Would you bet against us?
So it's looking good. I'm loving doing these shows. It's always much more enjoyable when we win, and we're winning all the time at the moment. So
after 2 years of enduring pain of Grealish leaving, enduring each other, enduring me, George. Oh, God, Frank has messaged me again because I hope he'd forget that we played this week. Oh, yeah. God's sake, not him again. Oh, shall I change my number? Change my identity, go to the witness protection program, move to Australia or something.
You're like hunting me down in like Robert De Niro in Cape Fear. Trying to get me to do this podcast.
You've moved off to like Timbuktu and I've turned up on your doorstep. Found you, look.
Brandishing a microphone in my face.
And it's like, look, I know Villa lost 5-0 this week to Man City, but we still got to do a podcast, mate. We've got to do it. But yeah, you're right. It's just, after all particularly during the Gerrard era, enduring all the nonsense, and there will be tougher times ahead under Professor Unai. Look, it ain't always going to be sunshine and roses, but, it's just fantastic time to support Villa and to really believe that we might actually finally be going somewhere with a board that knows what it's doing and a manager who clearly knows what he's doing and players who love playing for them and fans who are really buying into it.